And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, Gungans, droids, Chaotic Mundi, coneheads of all four head sizes, and today, a special shout out to all of you Togrutas that like to cross your arms a lot. To today's video where we finally, after months upon months of waiting, we have tons of gameplay of Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. We have a pretty robust all-around initial review of how she's doing right now in Galaxy of Heroes. Some saying she's mid, some saying she's blah. But what does the king of Triple B, Gods Get the Mobile Gaming, say? Well, let me tell you, we're going to talk about a lot. We're going to talk about Zetas, Omicrons, mod recommendations for this team. We're going to have a variety of gameplay to show on offense as well on defense. I'm going to tell you what she does well against, what she doesn't, her strengths and her weaknesses of people. I need you to sit back. I need you to relax. Gently caress that like button. Let's go ahead, visit the world between worlds, and see what this cookie is doing in Galaxy of Heroes. Now, I first want to say, first and foremost, thank you so much for being with me when we unlocked her the other day. It was a ton of fun. There's a card in the top right-hand corner. If you want to go ahead, made a little short summary video about the event itself. Pretty fun event. One of the better Galactic Legend events and Legendary events in general for this game. Pretty easy event overall to do. And guess what? You can't drop any more Galactic Legend tickets, which is a great thing to add on top of it. So overall, unlike Balin's Skull, which is a pretty bland event, this was a very fun event overall with cool cutscenes and nothing very frustrating about it. But now let's talk about the actual character herself. The journey is fun, whatever, but what do you get at the end of the day? And that's important. The first leg of our conversation is gonna be about her Omicrons, mods, Zetas, all that fun stuff. So there will be a link down below to my Ultimate Galaxy of Heroes spreadsheet here, where you will find a new tab for the Spectres, as you can see right here. And over here, we have ourselves all the Omicron recommendations I would have, the top priorities, second priorities, as well as the Zetas. A lot of Zetas that this team's gonna need, but that's kind of to par with how other Galactic Legends are in this game. And of course, if you scroll down a little bit further, you will see the modding recommendations for Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. A couple of different theories going on out there right now, but right now I would recommend tons of health. She has a massive amount of health in her kit. And also, in case you missed the previous videos that we've done on the other Spectre members, I also have the modding graphics provided by Peempo that you can check out as well in this spreadsheet. But with that out of the way, let's talk about, well, how does she fit in the Galactic Legend hemisphere? So we're going to show a variety of gameplay here, but I think what I want to show, the thing that people want to know the most, what is it looking like? And of course, you know, we're going to be going into Grand Arena and really seeing how things are once we get tons of battle data. But how is she fitting in kind of the Galactic Legend space? What is beating her? What can she beat? Let's talk about the offensive side of things first. Well, how is she against the other Galactic Legends? That was our day one testing. And I guess with that, what are the ideal teams that you can make here? One of the drawbacks of Galactic Legend Tano, unlike, for example, Galactic Legend Leia, where you kind of have a lot of flexibility, there's not much flexibility as of now for your Spectre lineup. Pretty much either do you have Ezra Bridger Exile or do you not? If you do have Ezra Bridger Exile, this is likely the team you're going to be looking at with Galactic Legend Tano, Ezra Bridger Exile, Padawan Sabine Run. We're going to talk a lot about her today. Hu Yang, General Syndulla, and depending on Datacrons, things might mix up. For example, we have an Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum Datacron. She's probably going to be banging in that team. But if you don't have Ezra Bridger Exile, I think Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum is going to be an amazing member to supplement lots of additional damage inside the team. Otherwise, there's not much theory crafting love that you could really do, but you know, who knows what the time will tell with Datacrons and other stuff down the road. But take it in mind, most of our focus is going to be on the non-Ezra stuff, or most of our stuff is going to be focusing on Ezra, and then later on, I'll give a few points about how does she feel without Ezra Bridger Exile, in case you don't have him up and running yet. But focusing on that standard lineup, what I'm seeing right now, when Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano is on offense, basically it looks like the following. I would say her easiest battles, going from easiest to hardest, it would be Jabba the Hutt being the easiest battle. Then secondly, Master Kenobi is very easy, it feels like. Sith Eternal number 3, Lord Vader number 4, Rey number 5, Supreme Leader Kylo Ren coming at 6, and then Jedi Master Luke coming in at 7, and then Galactic Legend Leia is probably the most difficult Galactic Legend. But overall, day one without any Datacrons, Omicrons turned on, and Ezra Bridger Exile, for example, I'm beating with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano 7 out of 8 Galactic Legends, with the one that I'm not really able to beat in a pretty manner is Galactic Legend Leia, which kind of makes sense. You know, she's still kind of a newish Galactic Legend from last year. So that's what we're looking like on the offensive side of things. But as we're going to talk about in this video as well, how is she doing on defense? If she's on defense, what are the Galactic Legends that beat her? Well, here's what we have. Leia feels to be the easiest Galactic Legend to beat her, and then going from easiest to more difficult, Lord Vader honestly felt pretty darn good up against Galactic Legend Ahsoka. Have Maul just delete Ezra Bridger Exile, the battle seems pretty easy from there on out. Sith Eternal with the armor trick seemed to do all right on top of that. Supremator Kylo Ren, we sort of got a win with the First Order lineup with the First Order officer. Pretty sketchy. And then afterwards, things got really sketchy, or, not quite close enough for the win. Master Luke and Master Kenobi, I got it to be so close to get across the finish line, but they have struggles up against Ezra as well as Ahsoka when you get down to those two. Rey might be able to have an opportunity. Sudden Whirlwind's going to be your friend, and Jabba just feels to be the worst up against this. Probably would not throw Jabba unless there's some sort of datacron down the road. So basically what we're seeing, she beats 7 out of 8 Galactic Legends handily. On defense, about, let's say, 3.5 Galactic Legends seem to beat her right now. And remember, I think this is one thing we're going to address, because some people say that Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano feels mid, and I'm going to kind of give my thoughts on what maybe they're getting to it. And if we're taking that perspective, I agree she could be mid from that point of view, as we're going to discuss here. But overall, unless you're expecting some sort of Great Mother Datacron type of power, yeah, maybe you're going to fall a little short. But one thing I was saying this whole time, as we're building up to Galactic Legend Ahsoka, I hope she's not Lord Vader. And guess what? I do not think she's like Lord Vader. I think she's going to be a top-performing Galactic Legend right now. Whether she's number 1, 2, 3, we got to wait and see over time. But as I'm seeing right now, I'm impressed with what she's doing on offense. She seems to be doing all right, but she's not crazy over-the-top powerful, where it feels like the game's going to be unbearable at that point. And with the summary of how we're looking like on offense and defense, let's kind of further some of the gameplay. Give you a variety of stuff, both with her on offense and on defense, against a variety of stuff. And then we're going to talk a little bit about potential off-meta, it's kind of a stretch to say off-meta, non-Galactic Legend counters as we're going to move forward in this video. But I want to kind of talk about the part at the very beginning. I've been seeing some comments saying that she's mid. And if you're talking from a performance standpoint, I mean, I'm not really seeing it right now. And who knows? Time will tell as we get more battles in Grand Arena and whatnot. And maybe there'll be a really funky off-meta counter. It's going to make you say, oh, God, that's bad for Ahsoka. I think the biggest thing with Ahsoka Tano, unlike other Galactic Legends where you visually get that satisfaction that something cool is happening, Leia, she calls it a T-posing Wookiee, and an ATST fractures everybody. You have, for example, Jabba that calls in a Rancor to insta-kill. You got Rey with the sudden whirlwinds, for example. You got Supremator Kylo Ren, who becomes invincible, just does absurd amounts of damage. You're getting none of that with Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. You are not getting anything that's visually pleasing that makes you say, whoa, you can visually see something is happening in the battle. The best way to look at Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano, she's coined a tank, which is true, she does taunt, but I see her more as a support character. Basically what she's doing, it's important stuff, it's big stuff, but you just don't visually get to appreciate it through herself. She supercharged the team through a variety of mastery and offense ramping mechanisms, where we're finally seeing characters like Padawan Sabine Wren hit for absurd amounts of damage. Remember Padawan Sabine just a few months ago? She's like, oh God, this character sucks. She's hitting for like 2,000 damage. Well, now because of Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano being here, they have specific call-outs to each other, but because of all the mastery ramping that we're going to have in the kit, for example, Commander the Wayward, her leader ability, you're going to get 30% defense, mastery, and offense. Wow, right there, that's a big deal. But also, we're going to get so much more Exile on the team. We're going to talk about that. With Ezra Bridger now that we have so much more Exile, anytime we're getting rid of that Exile and we're gaining it, he's able to ramp up our mastery even more. The first time each ally loses Exile, we're getting 30% critical chance, 60% critical damage, offense, potency, 30, speed. And if you have the Omicron, you're going to get extra mastery based on 5% of your relic level. And you're going to get an additional 30 speed, which is what we weren't seeing before. So when you just take all that together, yeah, she's maybe not doing anything that's amazing from a visual perspective. She's very much through and through a support character that's just chilling there and providing the team a variety of powerful bonuses to get them across the finish line through the variety of increasing Ezra's mastery, so he's pretty much untouchable, with ramping up his evasion dodge mastery, ramping up Padawan Sabine's damage or Hu Yang's damage. That is what this team is all about. So if we're going to say that she's mid from that perspective, I agree. I think she's one of the least interesting looking characters in battle, but in terms of performance, from what I'm seeing right now, pre-Datacron, pre-Omicron, I mean, she's doing pretty darn well. Yeah, she's not unbeatable, but I don't think we should expect unbeatable teams. But I do agree, as you get more relics and more keys, you kind of expect it to get close to that. But still, being able to beat pretty much all the Galactic Legends and only being kind of consistently, safely beaten by a few, I think that right there is kind of a shining light that she's got going on for her team. But let's talk about the pros and the cons of this team. And I'm going to kind of, do this inversely. I want to talk about pretty much the two biggest drawbacks with this team, with the Ahsoka Tano Spectre lineup. First and foremost, it's kind of a pro, but it's also a con. This team heavily relies on critical damage. That's basically the focal point in terms of how they pump up massive amount of damage. I've had times before Datacron, Padawan Sabine hitting for like 500,000 damage. Hu Yang multi-hitting me for 200,000 damage each. But the problem is, if you cut out the critical damage, all of a sudden that 500,000 hit from Padawan Sabine, it turns into like 40,000, which is still fine, but you're not getting that big burst of damage. So, for example, teams like Galactic Legend Ahsoka, which why she does well, Ahsoka's team gets turn meter. What happens when you get turn meter up against a Leia team? She basically gets a ton of critical void. It's very hard to critically hit her. And furthermore, we're going to talk about Ahsoka Tano's ultimate on her Worlds Apart. She's supposed to mess up cooldowns. You can't do that with Leia. So that almost nullifies the ultimate ability on Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. So that's thing number one. It's a critical damage focused team in things like Leia. Lord Vader shuts down critical damage. Even Supreme Leader Kylo Ren can shut down critical damage if he has advantage on him. Sith Eternal can link up Padawan Sabine, stop her critical damage as well. That's going to be both a strength as well as a drawback to this team. The other issue that we're going to have here, they have sort of a Lord Vader-like issue, not as bad, but the problem that they have is, well, they kind of have this thing where they can't really ignore taunts. So if you have a team that has a lot of taunting characters, like let's say Lord Vader, for example, you could do a Royal Guard, Shore Trooper, whatever the case might be, and the taunt goes away, sure, they have a couple of the spells. Ahsoka Tano's basic on Aegis Charge, that has a buff the spell, but also Harrison Syndulla, General Syndulla's basic has a buff the spell. The problem is if you have persistent taunting characters like Royal Guard, even if you buff the spell, they have a mark, you're stuck back there. They don't have a lot of AoE-like damage, but Padawan Sabine has one. They also do the bonus true damage, which is also sort of extra damage that they could do on the enemy. But otherwise, when they're stuck behind a tank, things can get complicated. Now, of course, they have ways to navigate it. As I said, they have two buff dispels, right? That's good. Also, General Syndulla's Fracture is really important. Up against Master Kenobi, for example, you want to throw the Fracture on General Kenobi, have whether it's Hera or whether it's Ahsoka Tano, do the buff the spell, boom, you're around the taunt, you're good to go. Or even get Exile. You get Exile on one of the tanks, you buff the spell them, they're not going to bother you for the rest of the battle. So it's kind of a problem that you got to work with, or when you're going up against Ahsoka, knowing that strength and weakness that she has, it's going to be kind of important. So those are really the two main weaknesses that I'm seeing to this team. When it comes to what the team does well at, it does well at a variety of things. First and foremost, as we said, so much mastery, offensive increases through the variety of characters that they have, and Ahsoka Tano finally tying it all together. That's the big thing that I said earlier, that really was what this team is all about. They're not going to get a cool insta-kill, but you know what they're going to do? They're going to get a crud ton of all these offensive ramping ramping mechanisms overall. But the main strengths that you got to keep in mind with this team, whether you're using her or you're going to try to counter her, the two real big things besides all of that we mentioned earlier is going to be the fact that her leader ability is very anti-protection up, and it's very anti-turn meter gains for the enemy. So starting off with protection up, Spectre Allies gain 15% offense anytime an enemy gains protection up. If you're going to use Master Kenobi, for example, to try to counter Galactic Legend Tano, do not use Padme. Just don't use her. All that protection she gives, it's causing problems. Think on a 15% offense each time you get just a singular amount of protection up. That's a big problem. But it's great for her. She's going to get tons and tons of damage pumping through her team. But it's not even just Padme Amidala. Think of how we take for granted how much protection we have. C-3PO's got it. Master Qui-Gon's got it. Baby Cal Kestis, he's got protection up as well. So keep that in mind. Those things are going to work against teams that are going up against Galactic Legend Ahsoka. So that right there, huge thing. The other thing I tell people to watch out for turn meter gains. Anytime an enemy's getting turn meter, they're taking true damage. So for example, when I was using Leia, I had Ben or Baze Malbus. They get a lot of turn meter. They basically cannibalize themselves, and they're easy kills at that point. Or for example, if you bring in Luthen and Pow basically instantly loses all of his health and protection because, well, he's taking all this true damage because of the turn meter they're getting. So that's what they also do well. And actually, there's a third thing. Buff the spells are tough to deal with. And you want buff the spells because you don't want to be stuck behind Ahsoka the whole time. She counterattacks. You don't want to be stuck behind Ezra Bridger because, well, you can't do anything when you're stuck behind Ezra Bridger. But anytime a Spectre Ally has a buff the spell, they're gaining 10% turn meter, and furthermore, they're getting even more mastery increases, 5% mastery for each buff this belt. So if they had 5 buffs, well, that's 50% turn meter for that character, 25% mastery, and there's a ton of other stuff with other mastery gains that they have. For example, again, the Exile is really the thing that's coming to the forefront with this team. We had a little glimmer of it with the Ezra Bridger Exile, and you know, it was kind of more of a niche thing. Like, he had it on him, which is important because when he has Exile, you can't assist on him, right? And he passes it on to the other team, which is more or less like an isolate. Well, now it's turning into a more focal point thing of this lineup, where when we have a Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano team, basically everybody, non-summon Spectre allies that didn't already have it, they're going to gain Exile. So pretty much everyone at the very beginning, they're going to get Exile. And now you have this new ability called Reunite, which is a much more improved version of Grand Admiral Thrawn, Admiral Maneuver that we have here, where basically this team, we're going to work our way to the ultimate here in a moment, but you get an incredibly fast ultimate charge as a result. But furthermore, you want to get rid of this Exile insanely fast at the very beginning, because every time you're getting rid of that Exile, because of Ezra Bridger Exile, as we mentioned earlier, he's going to just do a massive push of mastery gains, offensive gains, critical damage gains, speed gains, all the stuff you see inside of the Exile unique ability on Ezra Bridger Exile. So again, another huge layer that's just boosting the juicy stats of this team. But also, the faster you get rid of Exile, you can put Exile on the other team. So more or less, this is sort of like an isolate ability that you have. And when you use the ability Reunite, it's great, because when you use even the ability Reunite, you're getting 25% mastery, and you can remove Exile from this character and another target ally. So at the very beginning, you can get rid of 2 Exiles. Let's say Ezra Bridger Exile goes first. You use the ability, boom, you got rid of 2 Exiles already. That's insanely quick how fast you can get rid of it. It's supposed to be a detriment, but it's really not, because you can get rid of it in seconds, and then you get a bonus turn. So it's not even like you're wasting a turn. If you use it, you're getting mastery, you're getting rid of Exile, you're going to pass it over to the other team likely, and then on top of it, you just get a bonus turn, so you're not even skipping a beat. And it's on a shared cooldown of everyone, which is fine. It goes by so quickly. And this now leads us into what I think is the thing that people want to know about: the ultimate ability, Worlds Apart. And this is what sets characters worlds apart from each other. These ultimate abilities that Galactic Legends have that the other non-GLs can't have. Worlds Apart basically hypothetically could be one of the fastest ultimates. However, when I've been fighting Ahsoka on defense, sometimes she doesn't even get to her first ultimate for minutes, but other times she gets it like instantly. So I'm not quite sure what the rhyme or reason is. Sometimes it feels like she's purposely taking a long time to hit her ultimate. But remember, she's got 2 ultimate abilities here. She has this first stage, which it can happen literally within the first 10 seconds. As long as someone gets rid of that Exile, boom, you're ready to go. She gains a 30% ultimate charge whenever an ally uses Reunite, and then 30% ultimate charge whenever Hu Yang gains any version of History of the Galaxy, 6% ultimate charge whenever she uses a special ability, and 6% ultimate charge whenever an ally with Mirai's Wisdom uses a special ability. So it's pretty much, if you do it this way, Ahsoka Tano starts, she targets someone like Ezra Bridger, gives Mirai's Wisdom, which basically gives it a lot of extra speed and other stuff, and some turn meter when she uses that ability on her, Defiant Resolve. Which uses Defiant Resolve, she gives Mirai's Wisdom, which gives speed, 10% less damage, and also she can give 25% turn meter to the target Spectre member. And then if you have Ezra Bridger just get rid of Exile instantly, you use the Reunite, and then then he takes a bonus turn, you pass it over to Ahsoka, boom, you're at ultimate. So it's one of the fastest ultimates in the game, if not the fastest ultimate, when used appropriately. And then when you do that first stage of that ultimate, you can reset the cooldown of all allies and set the cooldown of all enemies to their max, which can't be resisted unless you're Galactic Legend Leia. And that's why Galactic Legend Leia is great. She basically shuts down this ultimate. And then, of course, allies are going to recover 50% health, protection. You get to remove more Exile on the team as well, which is great. And then you're going to grant Mirai's Wisdom to other people out there. But then you have the second ultimate, which is called Relentless Redoubt. So once you go ahead, you basically turn from Ahsoka Tano the Gray to Ahsoka Tano the White, which, by the way, it's kind of a weird ultimate. She cuts a hole through the floor, but then she goes down, but she's coming from the sky. It's kind of a weird ultimate from a visual standpoint, I suppose. But anyways, once you get past that first ultimate charge, which is incredibly quickly, then she gains kind of the Supreme Leader Kylo Ren-esque thing where you have this 3-tier ultimate thing, which again, if you want to upgrade the ultimate, basically just keep doing special abilities, all the same stuff that we talked about before. And then from here on out, she's able to basically just keep recovering health, keep providing extra mastery to the whole entire team. And the longer you can wait up to 100%, you get big health gains, protection gains, and then getting 30% mastery to the team. Then all the Spectre allies are going to gain this new deflective ward, which basically turns into like a Ray ult, where they take basically 1 damage. So it's like a mini Ray ultimate in a way here. And you get some ability blocks. So overall, again, her ultimate, is it satisfying like Jabba the Hutt, Leia, heck, even Lord Vader? He can do like this cool ability block thing that he's got going on. By no means is that the case. But again, if you read what her ultimate does, tons of master gains, cooldown increases, cooldown resets. Again, she's kind of doing all this stuff under the hood that you don't get to visually really appreciate. And I think that's the big thing when it comes to Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano. So overall, when we take all these things that we're talking about here today, we're looking at Galactic Legend Ahsoka Tano being just basically this massive support powers. I feel like the tank tag doesn't really fully appreciate what she's doing. I get why they did it, because she does taunt, and having her taunt at the very beginning is very nice. When you combine all the other things that we talked about, the Exile, being anti-buff the spell, anti-Terminator, anti-protection, anti-insta-kill, if you have Ezra Bridger Exile, there are just so many things in this kit that it would take us hours just to combine. It takes us 30 minutes just to read one of these kits here. There's just a lot of stuff going on with these guys. And overall, I don't feel like this is a mid-Galactic Legend. I'm seeing right now, let time tell as we go forward, but I'm not feeling disappointed like I was with Lord Vader or even Jedi Master Luke Skywalker when they first came out here. I'm feeling she's definitely somewhere in that top echelon. She's better than Master Kenobi, I would say. She's better than Jabba the Hutt. These are highly regarded Galactic Legends. I would say she's much better than things like Lord Vader, for example, even though ironically Lord Vader seems to be it's like the first time I would trust Lord Vader to counter a Galactic Legend. I would say she's somewhere up there in the top. However, I'm not sure if I could say I like her more than Galactic Legend Leia. That's where I have a difficult time deciding whether I like her. What I'm looking at here with Galactic Legend Leia, when we first got her, she's not as relic intensive to get as Galactic Legend Ahsoka, not as many marquee characters to get. I would say she doesn't even need a lifter. She just needs R2 and Drogon. And you have a little bit of theory crafting leeway to put whatever you want in the 4th and 5th slot. And yes, Leia counters Ahsoka Tano, but just like before, Jabba countered Galactic Legend Leia. So I think they're still kind of giving the privilege of the previous Galactic Legend to have an upper hand up against the new Galactic Legends. We kind of see this time and time again as we get new Galactic Legends. But overall, when I take into those considerations, no lifter, a little cheaper to get, and overall, pretty solid offensive defense performance like Ahsoka Tano that we're talking about today, I feel like I still think Galactic Legend Leia is the best overall Galactic Legend in this game, period, hands down. I think Ahsoka Tano, though, as we move forward, things could change, but I feel like she's maybe number 2, maybe number 3 at worst. I can't really see her being anything less than that. So that's why I have a hard time with some comments saying she's mid. I think they might be talking about just herself. She's kind of a boring Galactic Legend. And I guess I want to wrap up with this as well. After now we kind of get all those thoughts out of the way. Counters to Galactic Legend Tano. Now, we already talked about what Galactic Legends I would maybe use right now to beat her. Barring Datacrons and Omicrons, whole different ball game. Leia's probably the best. Lord Vader seems to be second best. Maybe Sith Eternal using the armor trick into 3 stacks of armor on Sith Eternal. He can't insta-kill, but he does pretty good damage to get through the rest. And unavoidable abilities, which Ezra Bridger Exile cannot avoid. Ezra's a massive annoyance with all that mastery to increase his dodge evasion. Trying to have characters that have unavoidable abilities is a big deal, I think. And then maybe Supreme Leader Kylo Ren can get things done. But if we're talking about non-Galactic Legend stuff, a few interesting things came up. Number 1, Maul DeLoreans. As I said, Maul with Lord Vader was pretty good. So we're like, what about Maul without Lord Vader? Well, we'll have to wait and see if this works out in the real world here. But Maul, if you get him up and running, you have the right speeds to make sure he's fast. After Galactic Legend Ahsoka goes, he goes really quickly. You're able to just full blast Galactic Legend Tano incredibly quickly, deleting her. And then, maybe you're not going to get a full clear because Ezra Bridger's incredibly annoying. But if you can get 3, 4 team members out, that's a good situation. Reva also is like that. Reva's a problem because what do we say? What is one of the core tenets of Galactic Legend Ahsoka? They don't like when a team gets turn meter, the enemy team that is. And Reva gets lots of turn meter. Anytime Purge expires, they gain turn meter, and they're basically cannibalizing themselves. But if you can play your cards right, you're going to kind of roll a mini-ish train around Galactic Legend Ahsoka, delete everybody. Likely, though, you're not going to be able to finish Galactic Legend Tano. And who knows, maybe the Omicrons will help us get along the way. But I was able to kill off everybody but Tano, so kind of the inverse of Maul, where I was able to kill Tano, almost everyone, but I'd leave one person left over. The other non-Galactic Legend that seemed to work all right now, Starkiller. So Ahsoka shares a lot of similarities with Rey in a way. It's a Rey, but it's not. Rey's team, I said this before in other situations, but Rey, she's kind of the interesting part of the team. She has Sudden Whirlwind, she's got the cool ultimate, right? She's got the damage immunity, and the rest of the team, they're just kind of supporting her. She's the inverse, where the team is Rey-like, but it's the rest of the team that's interesting. And Ahsoka's the least interesting visually. She's not doing too much herself. It's everyone doing the work that she's feeding them. But they share a similarity where I think they might have similar counters. Starkiller, even though we have Terminator, Palpatine, to be granted, we don't have the Omicron turned on at Starkiller. We had to cheat a little bit with the Datacron, but we were able to, get rid of Commander Ahsoka Tano, that is. But maybe Malicos might work too. Again, we couldn't test it because guess what? We don't have Omicrons on Malicos. So I think there's still going to be some off meta with this. And if that disappoints people, I want to remind people, every Galactic Legend we had, there's been some sort of off meta with maybe, the most extreme example, Master Kenobi. We didn't have a ton of off meta stuff, but we had things that could consist in Tusha. I remember like bounty hunters, and then you use gas to clean up. That was one of the old school ways of getting through a Jedi Master Kenobi without a Galactic Legend. So I think, it depends what people's standards that they're looking for. If they wanted an unbeatable Galactic Legend, I think that the expectations are a little bit too high. For me, I just didn't want her to be a Lord Vader, and she's not, but she does have Galactic Legend counters, and I'm expecting a couple of non-GL things down the road. But people, this is just our initial look on offense, defense, no Omicrons, no Datacrons. Time will tell how she's going to really settle in once we get inside of Grand Arena here very, very shortly. But here's what I want to ask you guys. At the end of the day, you guys have been hanging out through the past several days, unlocking her, doing offensive testing, defensive testing. And to that, I first want to say thank you so much for spending that time with me, kind of working through the weeds as we understand the strengths and weaknesses of Ahsoka Tano. But most importantly, what are your thoughts on her? What do you think the future is going to look like for this Galactic Legend hemisphere that we have in Star Wars Galaxy? But in the meantime, leave that like, comment down below, subscribe so you're not missing a thing, and please, always remember that it's great to be in the Empire today. Oh, it's great to be in the Empire.